I'm going to give you a whistle-stop tour of this year's British Social Attitudes Report, BSA 29. And it's coming out at a really key time for government because obviously the coalition is midway through its first term. Its eyes are on the next election coming up very quickly. And there's clearly a lot of concern still about the economy, both within this country and worldwide. And I'm going to be referring to data that we've collected over the last 3 decades. So over that period, we've talked to 85,000 people. That's more than enough people to fill the Olympic Stadium. We've asked them a huge series of questions, and that really gives us a fantastic handle on looking at change over time, how people's views are varying, and also about how different groups within Britain think about key issues. What we've found is a sign that public spending cuts are starting to have an impact on public opinion. We've found for the first time in a decade an increase in the proportion of people who'd actually like to see public spending levels go up, even if that means an increase in taxes. So 36% of people would now like to see that, compared with only 31% last year. At the same time, we've seen a steep fall in satisfaction with probably the most cherished of our public services, the NHS. So in 2010, satisfaction was at an all-time high, and that's now fallen to 58%. Another theme within the report is attitudes to welfare, and here we find a very different pattern. So despite the recession, we find a very long-term trend which is away from support for more government spending in this area. That trend has continued. So if we look back at previous recessions, we find that during those sorts of times, people want to see more spending on unemployment benefits, and their sympathy, if you like, for those who are on unemployment benefits increases, and that hasn't happened. What's interesting, I think, this year is that we found this decline in support for more government spending in this area, even for groups who are traditionally seen as the most deserving of more spending. So by that I mean older people and those on disabled benefits. And it'll be really important to see whether or not the Paralympics has had an impact on people's views, particularly about more spending on benefits for those with disabilities. A third theme relates to attitudes to immigration, and here it's been clear for a long time that the majority of people in Britain would like to see lower levels of immigration, and what we were trying to do is really dig beneath those headlines. And what we found is that over the last decade there's been a clear increase in concern both about the economic impact that immigration is having on Britain and upon the cultural impact that it's having. And when you look at how different groups view these issues, you find that the group who are most concerned about both the economic and cultural impact of immigration tend to be those in lower skilled occupations and with lower levels of qualifications, and who perhaps feel the most vulnerable to the impact that immigration might have. However, it's clear that people are not opposed to immigration across the board, and they do make distinctions between different types of immigrants. And what's particularly obvious is that people see immigrants with professional qualifications as having a great deal to offer Britain. So just to wrap up, a really clear message here about the perceived impact that public spending cuts are being seen to have on key public institutions like the NHS, and also some really important information for government and political parties more generally about some of the likely key battleground issues in the next election, particularly around welfare and immigration.